On January 24, 1972, two residents of the village of Talafofo, in the southern part of Guam, were out hunting along the Talafofo River. As they moved quietly through the dense jungle, they heard a rustle in the tall reeds. At first, they thought it might be an animal, or maybe even a child hiding in the bushes. But what emerged shocked them. Out stepped a frail, wild-looking Japanese man, clutching a handmade shrimp trap. He looked as if he had come from another time. Startled, the hunters exchanged a few confused words with the stranger before gently subduing him. They took the man, 56-year-old Shoichi Yokoi, back to their simple corrugated metal home in the jungle, about an hour's walk away. They later summoned the police, and soon the astonishing story of Shoichi Yokoi began to unfold. During World War II, Yokoi had been transferred from Manchuria to Guam, where he served as a sergeant in the supply corps of the Japanese army. But when American forces captured the island, he and 9 fellow soldiers disappeared into the jungle. Over time, the group shrank. Eventually, just 3 remained. They lived together in a hidden cave, surviving in silence and secrecy. In 1952, Yokoi came across a leaflet that revealed the war had ended, but he still refused to surrender. As he later explained, we Japanese soldiers were told to prefer death to the disgrace of being captured alive. 8 years before his discovery, the last 2 of his companions died, leaving him completely alone. So how did Shoichi Yokoi survive for nearly 3 decades in the jungle, with no contact, no help, and no intention of returning to civilization? Let's break down exactly how he handled the most basic needs of life: food, water, clothing, shelter, and tools. According to Yokoi, the most difficult part of survival was finding food. He called it a continuous hardship, his greatest and most constant struggle. Even though Guam's jungle is rich with edible plants and animals, his diet consisted of whatever he could find: mangoes, nuts, crabs, prawns, snails, rats, eels, pigeons, and even wild pigs. Without access to salt, he found creative ways to season and preserve food. He often boiled coconuts in their milk. He constructed traps using natural materials, baiting them with grated coconut to catch shrimp and eel from the river. Once caught, he would skewer and grill them over a fire. He also created a rat trap out of wire based on an old Japanese design. The trap, measuring approximately 10 by 6 by 4 inches, would instantly close when the bait touched it. Yokoi admitted he actually liked rat meat, especially the liver, but stressed that he ate whatever he could get. Taste didn't matter. Survival did. On one occasion, he caught a wild pig but didn't cook it thoroughly. For a month, he suffered from severe stomach pain. Then there was his clothing, another marvel of resourcefulness. Reporters who saw Yokoi's garments were stunned. The fabric's composition eluded them. Even the buttons were handmade. Yokoi had crafted his clothing by pounding the bark of the pago tree, which grows in the Guam mountains, into a flat, fibrous material. From this, he wove thread and fabric. He shaped a sewing needle by hammering brass, carefully drilling holes in it with an improvised awl. Over 28 years, he made 3 complete suits, and he repaired them constantly, keeping them usable. His tailoring skills, learned before the war, served him well. His shirts had outside pockets for storage, and his pants had belt loops. He even fashioned buttons from flashlight plastic and created buttonholes by hand. One belt he made from woven pago fibers. Its buckle? The buckle was made of bent wire, which was shaped and fitted entirely by hand. Interestingly, the native people of Guam once made rough cloth from the pago tree. Although the practice faded, Yokoi rediscovered an old island secret out of sheer necessity. As for shelter, Yokoi moved between different hideouts throughout his years in the jungle. At one point, he built a small hut out of rushes. Later, he dug a hidden hole beneath a grove of bamboo. Yokoi later explained why he chose that particular place for his main shelter. It was well hidden, nearly invisible even at close range, and the ground beneath the bamboo grove was solid, making it more stable. Inspectors later said that even standing at the entrance, you probably wouldn't see it. That entrance led to a cave that Yokoi dug entirely by hand, using a trowel he fashioned from an old cannon shell. It was slow, painstaking work. He carried the soil out in small handfuls and scattered it across a nearby grassy area, making sure no one would see signs of digging. After a full month of labor, Yokoi moved in, though he continued to expand the interior over time. The entrance to the cave was a camouflaged square that measured approximately 2 feet in width. A bamboo ladder descended 8 or 9 feet down into the shelter. Inside, even at the tallest point, the cave was barely over 3 feet high. Yokoi could never stand upright. He had to live, cook, and sleep in a constant squat. Still, the cave was surprisingly well organized. One end contained a carefully designed toilet hole, angled so that waste flowed naturally downhill toward the river. At the other end, his kitchen, he built shelves and a simple hearth with a cooking pot. The cave had no natural light, of course, so Yokoi improvised once again. He made a lantern using coconut shells, which burned oils for light. He even added a ventilation hole to allow smoke and fumes to escape. To soften the dirt floor, he laid down dry bamboo leaves. Yokoi identified the primary challenge as finding food. But a close second was the constant need to craft tools and other daily use items. He had no store, no supply depot, just nature and whatever debris remained from the war. He scavenged everything he could find. Discarded metal cans became a treasure trove. He cut a Japanese canteen in half and transformed one half into a frying pan and the other into a plate. He found an old water kettle, patched up the leaks, and put it to use. With lengths of bamboo, he made rainwater collectors and used them as dippers for the river. Despite the harsh conditions, Shoichi Yokoi's health remained remarkably strong. When doctors examined him after his discovery, they found he was not only mentally stable, but also physically well. The 2 men who had found him guessed he was far older than 56. His wild appearance had aged him, but they also noted how surprisingly strong he was for his size. After nearly 3 decades in the jungle, alone, forgotten, and unseen, Shoichi Yokoi had managed to endure conditions most could never imagine, and in the end, he emerged not broken, but whole. Perhaps even healthier than the average modern man sitting on a couch or stuck in traffic.